Welcome to the 14th episode of PAOK Talk. We are your hosts, Angelo and Jono. Jono, I'm sure you're not doing so well after watching that game, so we're filming this, we're recording this about a couple hours after the game. Jono just saw this, right, on recording?
Yep, that's right. I caught up a little bit later than you did, so I'm a little bit fresher out of it, but yeah, definitely a frustrating result given we're 2-0 up, so I look forward to analysing and breaking it down with you.
Right, yeah, and we figured we'd do this right away so we get kind of like a raw emotion. But before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that we did start a Twitter account. It's PAOK_talk. It's been pretty active today. We've been pretty active with it. It was pretty fun. We've had some commenting with our fans, and it was actually funny. The official PAOK account, they messed up somehow, and so we included them into one of our conversations, one of our threads, and they actually replied with just a period. So somehow they messed up, but that's pretty cool. So go check that out. So they got involved in one of our threads, and they hit a period and hit send for some reason. I don't know why, but it was pretty funny. But yeah, so I just wanted to give a couple of points about the game that I found out, and while I'm giving my points, I'll stop at the end of each point so you could give your point of view on that topic, and then you could say extra stuff relating to that. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good, my dude. You go for it.
And then afterwards, we'll hear what you have to say regarding the game. Let me just get those up real quick. I have to find out where I put them. Okay, so first, obviously, when I saw the lineup and I saw Singaras was starting and Chorlak was starting, I was a little confused. I was angered and confused and perplexed as to, this is probably one of our biggest European games, maybe the second biggest one this year so far, before after the Krasnodar game, because if we had won this, 90% we would have qualified. So the fact that, Chorlak I could understand. I remember during our preview we kind of said, well, do you think he's going to start him? The experiment failed last time. Swiderski has the hot touch, I guess, the hot foot. So why would you mix it up? But I think, and I'll get to this later, I think it's quite clear why Garcia started Chorlak. But regarding the Singaras start, that had me really confused. I don't know if something happened with the City. I don't know if Augusto couldn't play the full game. I'm not sure what the issue is there, but I don't see how you could start a youngster who hasn't started in the game before away at PSV. If you wanted to play him in the European game, why not wait till the next one, right? Omonia. It's a different game. They're going to park the bus. That's a game where he could play and he probably wouldn't cause harm. But I just rewatched those goals, and I know we were talking about it off air, but I'll let everyone know. All three of those goals he could have prevented. Okay, the first one, it was that positioning thing. He was positioned too central, and he had forgot the fact that there was a defender to his left, right behind him. A normal, a center midfielder, holding midfielder that has more playing experience in bigger games, he would have, kept his head on swivel and made sure that the player was covered. The second one, it was the same kind of thing. It was that cutback, and he was not clogging the lane. His job as a holding mid is just to always be looking around, making sure that there's no one open behind him. Right, whether it's to the left or to the right. But I think he failed to do that today. And was it his fault? No, I don't think he should have been put into that position. I would say the first and third goals, the third goal, like you pointed out, was his fault. He was caught ball watching, and then he helped Rodrigo Suarez on the right side. It was a 1v1. He didn't need to help. He left his position in the middle of the field to go more towards the right to help out Rodrigo, and then the pass went right where he should have been, right where he left from. It's just inexperience. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said there. I'll say on that third one, for me, the bigger mistake is, as you mentioned, the ball watching. I don't necessarily mind him going to double up, and then you see where Mullin slips the ball through. I mean, it's a pretty small space that he's able to get it through. And my issue is then the ball watching that, Mullin, Zivkovic makes a save, and then Mullin runs right past Tsigaras and just has a tap in for the 3-2. But no, I agree with you for the most part, man. I mean, the first one was just a poor mistake. I mean, we were completely behind the ball. When I say completely, I mean our midfielders and our defenders. And somehow they found that space on the edge of the area. So as you said, Tsigaras was out of position, didn't have that passing lane closed. They're able to slip the pass. The PSV player, who I can't remember who it was, is able to turn. Mm-hmm. And then, when attackers are able to turn in between the lines to face their goal, you're always in trouble. So that was a poor mistake. The third goal, yes, again, like I just mentioned, the ball watching. I mean, I see a lot of players across world football, far better players and more established than Tsigaras that get caught ball watching. So, I mean, it's just a trait. But no, I think what you said is accurate. I don't think it's the kid's fault. I mean, it's his debut. It's the first time starting that I can remember. I don't think he started a league game before this, let alone a European one. Maybe
it's his first start. It's his first senior start.
Yeah, well, there you go. So, like, you've put him in to start, probably our hardest game in Europe. I definitely, I put that on Garcia. I mean, 13 minutes in, we're probably sitting there and saying, oh, what a masterstroke. This is looking great. But, I mean, as the pressure came on, which was inevitable that it would from PSV, then they're not just going to roll over at home, especially. He was found wanting and just, not up to it. But, yeah, I'm with you. I think Garcia made the error there. I think City should start. I'm assuming Augusto wasn't fit enough to start, so I mean he's only trained twice. So that's fine. I give him a pass for that. But I mean, City's made for this game, right? Like a more experienced defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
I mean that's what you want, yeah.
Exactly, and you mentioned after the first 13 minutes we were like, oh, what a genius start. I mean, because he didn't do anything, so he had a couple of poor touches in the to start. Then after I think the second goal, then he kind of calmed down a little bit. But I think the bigger thing was his positioning, and it wasn't his fault. Now he didn't make errors that led to the goal, right? I think we're all on the same page. But it was just a poor positioning and not enough game awareness to be put into that situation. Like we're not saying like he turned the ball over in the defensive third, they went and scored. No. But it's just the field awareness. And, I want to ask you a question. I mean, we can't really answer it looking at it now, but if a City was in instead of Tsigaras, I mean, do you think it changes the fact that we went up 2-0? I mean, probably not, based off of everything else, right? I mean, I can't remember if he made like a leading pass or interception that led to the goals.
Nah, absolutely not. We still would have gone 2-0 up.
Right, yeah. So that's what I was getting as. You could put whoever back there and probably the same. But, that's my first point. The second one, and I know this is a big one, is the substitutions that Garcia made. First, I mean, after Tsigaras got that yellow card, he should have been, I mean, you can't sub him right away, obviously. But, once we go 2-0 and, if we see that we're sitting back and they're just going to be playing the ball through the middle, I'd be fine if Garcia subbed them in the 40th minute or something like that. If we saw that was their playing style, and he doesn't look to me like a bruiser, a defender, a goon, kind of like Asiti is, where he's going to make sure. Asiti's long too, right? So I mean, how many times has he stretched out his leg to make that tackle? He could cover a lot of ground. He's a big dude. He's a long guy. So. That would have helped, but especially coming out into the second half, I think you had to have put Asiti out there. If I was a betting man, I definitely would have bet a lot of money that he would have come out to start the second half. And then the whole Soli substitution too, it was confusing to me. I know he didn't get back a couple times, but I mean, you could tell he was pissed off when he came off the field. He was upset, and I was watching it through CBS, through the American channels, and even they were saying, this better work out for Garcia, because if not, he's going to get a lot of questions. Why you take out someone who, I mean, he led directly to both goals. So that was a strange substitution. Then you bring in Swiderski for Cholak. Okay, I know Cholak wasn't having the best game, but he was doing, I think, what his role was. If you're sitting back and you're playing 10 behind the ball, you need that striker that you could kick the ball up to, hold the ball, lay it off. I think he did better at that today. I mean, he didn't mess up any times that he could have scored. We didn't get him the ball that much in the attacking third, if any time. That's not really his fault if he doesn't get the ball. He was working hard. He was holding the ball. But I think you bring in Swiderski there for someone else, and you keep two forwards on if you need a goal. All right? I mean, so the one-to-one switch really didn't change anything. And I want to say sometimes when Ferreira went down by a goal and he needed to score, he would change the formation, put two up top. I think Garcia's done it before. But it seems like today he was content with just getting out of there 3-2. I know because of goal differential that might help if we end up tied with them. But, I mean, maybe he could have kept both strikers on somehow. What do you think about the whole subs?
Yeah, look, the Solis one is an interesting debate to have. So he was clearly our most attacking player now. I mean, our biggest threat going forward. Now, the issue was after the 2-0, we didn't really threaten at all. There was that one break in the first half where we broke like 4-on-1, where El Kaduri tried to play it out to the right, and the PSV defender just got a toe to it. Mm-hmm. So apart from that, we really didn't threaten after going 2-0 up. It was just all PSV. So I was thinking as I was watching the game, PSV had run riot down our right side, and Solis and Dumfries, who didn't play in the game at Dulba because of COVID, their captain, he was huge. He was getting up. The winger who scored the Gakpo, who scored the 2-1, their first goal, they were just doubling up on Crespo. Solis was slow to come back. He was always a step behind. There was other chances where he didn't track Dumfries, where they didn't score. So I was thinking, I'm like, Solis is hurting us defensively, but he's also our biggest attacking threat. So, I mean, the only other option, I would have kept him on the pitch. I would have given him maybe 10 minutes down the middle as a striker. But I don't fault Garcia for wanting to put Merg or someone who's a better tracker. I just saw Zivkovic came across to the left, who is a fantastic tracker.
So let me just say this real quick, and it's something that I noted, and I'll leave it to you. Solis started on the left, right?
Yeah.
And then halfway through the first half, after we scored the 2 goals, he switched them.
Mm-hmm.
What was the purpose?
I think he switched him after we had kind of gone cold in attack, to be honest.
I think I had written down it was like in the 17th minute, 20th minute. So that would be immediately after
they scored. And they scored coming down that side. I know that we faulted us.
Why switch what was work like that? I just think there's a lot of, but I get what you're saying about how Solis didn't track back. Yeah, and what hurt too is when Murr came on, he did nothing. Absolutely, I don't even think he touched the ball. I'm not even trying to exaggerate. I mean, do you remember a time in the attacking half that he did something?
He didn't do anything of note. I mean, he did touch the ball. You are exaggerating a little bit, but he didn't do anything of note. And a couple of times he tried to get something going, like the ball kind of, if he messed up the touch or he just couldn't get the ball would get stuck at his feet. But yeah, the Solis one is an interesting one. I would have tried him as a striker. I'm going to disagree with you on Cholak. Yes, Cholak was there to hold up the ball, but he didn't do that. He tried to, but I don't remember one completed pass. You want to talk about not exaggerating? I don't remember one time he found the teammate. Mm-hmm. So he was trying to hold up the ball. I don't fault him in terms of not creating anything or not getting any chances. It wasn't that type of game for us. But what he was there to do, he didn't do it well, in my opinion. So I honestly thought Cholak was on the pitch about 10 to 15 minutes too long. I think as soon as they went 3-2 up, I would have made that switch straight away. I understand what you say in terms of the 2 strikers. There's maybe some merit to that argument, but personally, Cholak was offering nothing, so I would have hooked him earlier. Him and Tigadas about 10 minutes earlier than what they did get pulled off. Yeah, that's just my opinion on it. And I can't remember what else you said because we've been talking a lot, so I'll just throw it back to you to keep on going.
No, I am talking a lot. I'm just heated. And then I mentioned the what else did I mention? Oh shoot, I lost it.
Just keep on running through your points. I think we covered. I think it was just the City. I mean, I think I said I would have started a City for Tigaras,
and
yeah, Solis, I would have left him on, but I would have tried him down the middle.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No,
yeah.
it does.
So maybe put Merg on for Cholak, and then leave Merg on the wing, and then if Solis isn't threatening, then you can take him off down the middle and put Svidevski.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's just my opinion.
So I had another big qualm with how we sat back so much after we scored the 2 goals. And I know that we were talking about it earlier again, and when you're away against a really big club, you score those 2 goals and you're like, all right, well, let's sit back defensively. We're going to do fine. And to start, that's fine. But I think we saw it wasn't working. I mean, there was a good 15-minute period, 20-minute period where we didn't get the ball into our half or our attacking third. So we saw that the whole parking the bus wasn't working. I hate that when it's not in like late game situation. When there's 15, 20 minutes, then yes, you could do that. But when you start doing that from the 20th minute on, you're basically telling your team to park the bus and prevent the onslaught of the balls being put through, long shots, crosses, everything for 80 minutes or 70 minutes, right? 75 minutes or so. That's a lot to ask, especially to a team with as much skill as PSV. And it obviously comes from the bench. The players don't do it because you didn't see Garcia like losing his shit, telling everyone to move forward. I just think that was the wrong game plan. You had that team on the ropes. If you kept pressing high, if you kept pressuring, you kept countering, there would have been more opportunities to score. And, we could look back and say, well, 2-0, we shouldn't have lost anyways. Well, yes, I agree. But 3-0 would have been better. We had an opportunity when it was that 4-on-1. I think he made the right decision to the right side, but it was just a bad execution. I don't think he should have gone to the left because there was 2 players on his right, so that was obviously the better decision. But once we saw that parking the bus wasn't going to work, he had to have done something else. If you saw PSV, after they scored that goal, they were still pressing high. We couldn't do anything. I think it was around the 80th minute or so where we just kept passing back to our goalie, to Varela, to Ingerson, back to the goalie, because we couldn't break it out because they were pressing high. They had their striker, their 2 wingers, and one of their center midfielders pushing high too. We couldn't break it out, so we ended up resorting to just clearing it. And I mentioned it on Twitter. This is the reason that we have our small club mentality. We're up 2-0. What are we going to do? We're going to panic. We're just going to sit back and defend. We should have kept our foot on their throat and just kept going with it. What do you think?
Yeah, look, it's a good philosophical footballing debate to have that as the underdog you go to the stadium of the bigger team and you're up a couple of goals early. What do? Do you keep going, or do you say, no, hang on, we've got more than what we've come for. Let's try to protect and frustrate.
Yep.
Now, I think most coaches, not most, I think a lot of coaches would probably do what Garcia did and kind of lay off the press. The issue was where we've generally been defensively solid, although we haven't kept a clean sheet under Garcia, so that's something worth discussing maybe another time. But normally defensively where we've been solid, we weren't today. So I mean, you're still PAOK playing at PSV. I agree with you. It is a bit of not a small team mentality, but it's a safe tactic, right? To go and then sit off and then kind of let them come at you. Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have done it, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's an interesting debate to have. And Garcia has shown till now that he hasn't really been about that. I guess this was the first game where he was forced to manage the game where we were winning. We didn't have to chase it. Mm-hmm. So we kind of got to look at him as in that aspect of his management, where we had a couple goal lead and now it's all right, you manage the game now. It's ours to lose. And unfortunately, he failed and we lost it. So it's something that I'm sure he'll learn from as well. But yeah, I mean, in hindsight, I think I agree with you that that we shouldn't have sat off. I will say though, I did expect us to get more chances on the counter, and that's credit to PSV. They had us pinned, and we just had to clear the ball. We weren't able to get those clean breakaways.
Well, I think there was a couple times when we had a good look and we just didn't get that final pass, and I think that's the difference between the first game and the second game. There was two I remember that obviously the 4-on-1, and there was one time when I forgot. I think Cholak played it back to Schwab, and I think Solis was running on the left side. It was in the first half. It was from left to right, and he was running up that left side, and there was no one within 10, 15 yards of him, and all we had to do was play him the ball, and he would have had a breakaway, but we didn't see that pass. So what I'm getting at is if we executed on those two plays like we did in the first game, where it seemed like every counter we scored, it would have been a different result. We didn't get that final bounce. I think we made silly decisions, so that's ultimately the reason we lost.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, you're right. Like we didn't get as many breaks as we could have. I mean, that big one with El Katouri, where I do agree with you. I think he made the right decision trying to go to the right hand side. But yeah, I wanted to just say to you or ask you. So we praised Garcia in our preview episode about his ability to not wait and change the game at halftime when it's going against him. Mm-hmm. Now, even though we were 2-1 up at the half, I mean, we kind of discussed this earlier. We were 2-1 up at the half, but the game was still like we weren't in control.
Right.
So I was half expecting him to do those subs at halftime, the ones we mentioned, right? Pull off Tigara, maybe even Cholak, but he didn't do that. Now, I mean, football is a results business, but I don't know. I was a little bit surprised that he didn't pull the trigger, at halftime, given he is shown to do that. So, I mean, coaches are obviously at the mercy of the results, and he was obviously content given we were winning. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I don't know if you were expecting changes at the half.
So I was expecting changes at the half. I thought that he would have made them. The fact that he didn't surprised me. I think he got, I don't want to say nervous, but this was his first big game. He's probably oh snap, look, we're 2-0. What do I do? And I think he was having that internal decision. Do we keep going? Do we sit back? What do we do? And I think it was just too much for him. He hadn't, coached in obviously as big of a game as this. From my perspective, my point of view, right? If I'm a coach in that situation, against one of the better teams in our league or something, whatever, and we go up 2-0 early, I'm going to be in the same way. Like, wait, I didn't expect this, So then in my head, I'm like, all right, well, what do I do? Do I do this? I think maybe he overthought things. Maybe he figured, okay, well, we got a 2-1 lead with these players. I think we could hold off a little bit. I think he was just too caught up in the moment. It was too big for him. Now, and this, I'm going to lead into my last point. I think his decisions cost us the game. Do I think he's a good coach? Yes. Do I change my opinion on him that PAOK should have hired him? No. Do I still like him as a coach? Yes. But I think his decisions were, cost us the game. And I think it's a lot of inexperience. You're going to have these moments with when I say younger coaches, I mean newer coaches, right? So with newer coaches, it's something I hope he learns from, because it's going to be in the same situation, whether it's in Europe or in the Super League. He's going to get into the same situation, and I hope he learns from it. It doesn't change my opinion of him as a coach. I think he's still a good coach. I think the players play hard for him, but I think he just made a mistake. Just like good players make mistakes. Good coaches make mistakes sometimes. Do you think that his decisions ultimately decided the game?
I mean, I think probably yes. I also think that it's just a byproduct of football and sport in general, that when the team wins, the players won the game, and when the team loses, the coach lost the game. So no, I do agree with you, but like you said, man, he's an inexperienced manager, and it wasn't necessarily. I don't think it was necessarily the big game that caught him out, because he had the PSV at home. I think it was more the situation, as you said, the 2 goals up early against a big team. That kind of threw him, and like you said, they've probably planned for the game to be 0-0. For the first half, maybe we grab a goal. They're not expecting 2 goals, certainly not in the first 13 minutes. So yeah, he probably overthought it a little bit, but like you said, man, he's going to learn. Like we said earlier, it's the first time he found himself leading a game like so early against such a heavily favored opponent. So he'll learn from it. I mean, it's part of it. I think more the frustrating thing from a fan's point of view is that we had, we were 2-0 up, and the win today, basically, as you said earlier, was like a 95% guarantee to qualify. So to blow it the way we did, and then to kind of not really threaten them too much once we went down, was also frustrating. The fact that, not that we didn't fight, but that basically after the first 10 minutes, 15, the game was all on PSV's terms. So that was a little bit frustrating. But yeah, Garcia made some mistakes. At the same time, I think also some individual players made some mistakes that he can't do much. Like, he can't go and tie Solis to the winger that he's meant to track, or to the right back that he's meant to track. Yes, the Zigadas one probably. It's not Garcia's fault that Pereira wasn't put on the European list. That was before his time, right? I think once we went down, we saw that hurt us, right? Having Crespo at fullback. It's something that we know. In a game where we're defending, he's a fantastic fullback. And a defender. In a game where we need to score, he struggles. We saw that against Krasnodar. He's not a player to have going forward. And they did the subs obviously late, where they put Vaguer on.
Right. I was gonna say I still would have. I know Basalis is gonna give me slack for this, but I still would have started Crespo. I mean, would you have changed the lineup?
No, I don't think I would have changed it at the start. But then, you just saw. Well, I mean, live by the sword, die by the sword, sort of thing. Like, you put him in, you go 2-0 up. What a great move. We're going to be solid on that left side. They obviously ran. They caused us a lot of problems down that side in the end. Not because of Crespo's fault.
But he did get torced a good amount of times. He got turned around.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, again, all in hindsight, no, I think that Crespo starts. It's just having the option of a natural left back on the bench. So we had to put Rodrigo there in the end. Then you just see, like, he gets in space on the left. He's obviously not confident on his left side. He's always cutting in. Having a natural left back on the bench in Pereira. Giannoulis obviously was injured, so you can't do anything about that. But yeah, that would have helped when we were chasing the game. But I mean, we're really nitpicking here. Really, at 2-0 up, we should have managed the game a little bit better to not.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say the management of the game was bad. There's no reason why you should lose, or we just needed to get a draw, right? So I mean, a draw was technically a win for us in terms of our qualification hopes. There's no reason why we should have given up 3 goals after that start. Case closed.
Yeah, right? 100%. And that's why at the half at 2-1, when I thought about it, I was like, we're still in a good spot here. They still need to score twice. I want to see the subs now. While they're still chasing it, let's swing the game. Let's take some momentum away. And obviously he didn't do that. We conceded the goals within 3 or 4 minutes of each other.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The 2-2 and their 3-2. And then, we're obviously chasing the game. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. I don't know if there's anything else you want to mention before we start talking about the rest of the group and our qualification.
No, I finished my points.
All right. Well, moving forward now. So PSV pass us. They go to 6 points in second place in the group. Granada up top on 10. We have 5. So, I mean, it goes without saying, next week in Cyprus, we just must beat Omonia. That's non-negotiable.
Right.
And we have PSV travelling to Spain to play Granada. So, essentially, our fate is in our own hands. If we win both games, we can't be eliminated. We will go through. I'm more worried about the Omonia game than I am the Granada game, because Omonia will park the bus, and we know that we struggle against that. It's just non-negotiable, though. We must win. I think our chances are at 50-50. It comes down to the Omonia game for me. I think there's a good chance Granada will be qualified by next week. I don't think they'll lose to PSV.
Right.
So I think if we beat Omonia, we'll be in the box seat, and then we'll probably be playing a indifferent Granada on the final match day. What do you give our chances of qualification from here?
A lot of people, on the forums are negative about our chances, but I think our chances are actually really good if we beat Omonia, right? I mean, I don't think PSV is going to go to Spain and win. So ultimately, I think we'll be at 11, 8, and 7 after Right. I
But
mean,
I think I think the negativity is around the Omonia game. I don't think the big picture. I think that's what that's what I'm concerned about. Our ability
right.
to go and crack open a team like that. That's what I'm worried about.
Right. I mean, yeah. I could see it being a 1-0 game, and nerve wracking the whole time. Um, but if Granada wins and we win, all right, it goes back to that. I think 90% chance. All we'd have to do is just make sure we don't lose. Right. So I could, and they would have nothing to play for. They're guaranteed first place. I'm sure they'll sit some players. It'll be a situation we go out, we get a 2-0 lead, 1-0 lead, whatever, and then it goes back to the same thing. Do we sit? Do we park the bus? But I would say, yeah, I like our chances. I love being able to control our own destiny. Where it's 2 wins, you're in, no matter what. You either get first or second, 2 wins. But that's ultimately, I think we're in a better position than PSV is, right? Because they don't control their own destiny. Or do they? Yeah, I mean they do.
No, they do. If they win
Granada,
games,
right.
Well.
If we win both, and they win both, then because if they win both, but Granada beats us. Yeah, then they still right. So they just wouldn't get first.
Just stop doing maths on air, man.
I know. They wouldn't get first. But yeah, but they have to still go to Spain while we just go to Cyprus and then we end home. I think that's big. The fact that we get that game at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the schedule is more in our favor than it isn't. It just comes down to Omonia. Like, win that game with half a goal, however it comes, just must win. We'll probably do an in-depth preview of the game, but the starting 11 is going to be key there, because you know what you're going to come up against, and teams have struggled. I mean, even today, Granada beat them 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stronger teams in the group haven't swept them aside either. So it's going to be tough for us, and they've shown that they're capable of scoring. I think they've scored in almost all of their games.
Right.
So we're going to probably have to come up with 2 goals, I think, next week. But I mean, we'll discuss that moving probably next week some point. But yeah, must win that.
I agree. It's a must win. I think it's evident it's a must win, because if we don't win and PSV wins, then I think we're in a sticky situation. I think it's over then. Yeah, because we'd have 5, they'd have 9, right? So, we'd have 6 and they'd have 9.
That is if we lose. So and we obviously want a Granada win, right? Because like you mentioned earlier, we want them to come.
Yeah. I want a Granada win, a PAOK win. That would make it 13, 8, and 6, and then all we need is a tie because we own the tiebreaker versus PSV.
Yeah, perfect. So we want Granada to win. So Granada comes to Tulba with nothing to play for, and like you said, a draw would be enough for us.
Now let me talk about something else about the game while I look at Granada's schedule to see who they play after they would play us. Because if they play like a Barcelona or a Real Madrid, they're definitely going to be sitting players.
That's what you want to do. That's what you want the rest. No, I think, if they draw, them drawing and us winning would again put us in a similar position. No, we still would need to beat them then, wouldn't we? Because we'd only be... I can't. This on air working out scenarios is a bad idea.
So everyone's doing that. I can't find their damn schedule. Hold on.
I don't think it matters. I think if they're qualified, that they could be playing, the Correo of Spain, and they're going to rest players. Because why would they come and risk anyone? If they're not qualified, then they're probably going to come and play with their first team.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. I agree with that.
But sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the Correo of Spain. Who would that be?
I don't know.
Which team in that league?
I've been to a couple of small towns in Spain. San Sebastian, maybe.
Oh, okay.
That's probably...
Yeah,
that was a nice little beach town. They're probably a Correo.
Huesca doesn't sound like a good team. I don't know. So I mean, let's all hope that first of all that we get a win this weekend, kind of get off the schneid a little bit, and then we go into the next game. That's next week, right?
Yeah, because the European games are thick and fast. They're trying to catch up leading into the new year, the schedule. So they're on track because of obviously the COVID delayed the start of this season. So
right. Yeah, so hope we get
Yeah,
2 wins in a row the next 2 games.
yeah. So Lamia on the weekend will be tricky. I don't think Lamia's won yet, but I mean, how much does Garcia rotate? We know that we've got to win to keep in touch. Olympiacos plays Aris this weekend, so one of them is going to drop points, or both maybe. So we must win this Sunday. So how heavily he rotates ahead of a big European game as well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Augusto will probably start, but, given he didn't start today. Svidevski probably will start as well. Vieirinha probably plays. So there's already like 3 players that, can probably come in and freshen up the team a little bit.
Yeah, hope for good things, right?
That's it, man. Fingers crossed.
All right, well, thank you all for listening to episode 14. I mean, thanks for bearing with us. It was a little math problems over there that got a little sticky, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with what we've said. Some people will agree, so let us know what you like, what you didn't like, what you agree with, what you don't agree with, and be sure to follow us on Instagram and on Twitter, and we will talk to you soon.